Hey everyone, so this is going to be a walkthrough of the week 1 lab, the research and scientific method. So yours is going to look something like this. This is for a different class, so it has slightly different due dates. It says graded, which yours obviously won't be. So it tells you the resources, going to be your lab manual, you're going to complete the lab doc, and then when you need to add a graph or a chart to log documentation, you can take a picture of it and insert it into your assignment, or you can do it through Word, whatever you're more comfortable with. Honestly, I find just taking a picture much easier, and apparently the entire world is trying to message me at the moment. But we'll get back to that. Okay, so only that Word document is accepted though, so don't give me a graph separate. It all has to be in one document because these things take forever to grade and they take a while to do, so plan accordingly. Do not wait till the last minute or you will be screwed. Okay, and then you'll click on the assignment files tab to submit your assignment. So faculty materials you won't see, it's in case you're curious, just the unformatted lab. This is going to be the formatted lab. I'm going to pull that up, the lab rubric, and then the week 1 playlist, which is how you should be watching this video now. So let me pause this, see the 1,000 people that are messaging me, and then we will look at that formatted document because that's what's going to take the most time. Or should we look at the lab rubric first? Let's look at the lab rubric first and just get that out of the way. It'll be quick, and then we'll look at the lab doc. Okay, so here's the rubric. It just says blah blah blah, week 1 scientific method. So it's going to be a point for the observations in each of the exercises, half a point for complete sentences, format, grammar, and half a point for APA citations. However, if you do not have citations, this means in text and full reference, the sucker is going to get a big fat 0. You've got to have those APA citations. It's 350. If you use an outside source, you need to see citations, okay? And they need to be APA citations. Some of you may come from an MLA background, a Chicago background, some other formatting. This is APA in this university though, so APA. There is an APA citation generator, I can talk, in the UOP library. That is wonderful. If you're not sure, use it. After a couple of times, you'll probably get the general gist of how the citation should look. I'm not looking for perfection, but I'm looking for it to look mostly like it should, and that there is a matching in-text citation. That means if your full reference is, the Journal of Medicine, so JAMA, don't put JAMA in your in-text citation when your full reference has it all written out. It's got to be the same everywhere. The same, right? If you have a website that you're using that does not have an author for the information that you use, then the author is the organization. So if I use the World Wildlife Fund and there is no author, then the World Wildlife Fund becomes my author because everything is through them. Most government organizations are this way. You rarely see an individual author is considered from the entire organization. So make sure you do this correctly or annoy the heck out of me. Okay, so let me close this and we'll go to the more important, the entire huge lab report. It's not that I'm thinking of inappropriate words. Okay, so if you hear a pause, it's because I'm going back and forth between this and the handy dandy key that I possess. Okay, so first you'll see everything is lab format is formatted to APA. If the little doohickeys bug you, they are just format to C, and you just click on this button and they will go away. It will look very standard, and that's how you would it would look if you printed out the page. Since I edit a lot, I'm happy to see all my paragraph marks, okay? So you see it's about 4 lines down. You'll create your title page here, and then everything will be centered. You'll have your title, name, course, date, and then my name is optional. APA title page. If you're not sure, check the APA, templates. There's a whole thing in the class messages. So then this is all beautiful double space. So in here, you're going to have subject, identify, all the data as it says. We are going to the 50. If you do not have all the information, which totally happens, like say you only have like 10 people, that's not a problem because in the lab, you are going to put your observation table for free as posts pretty much every week. What you'll do is you'll say like, well, here's my 10 people, and somebody else will be like, well, I got 15. So, well, okay, well, now I'm up to this many. And then you'll go like up to like about 35, right? So then you'll be like, Okay, 25. So then you'll be like, oh, somebody else got another 20. Okay, somebody else got some more. So you can fill the whole thing in. I expect this table to be completely filled in. If you cannot find the results yourself, consider the entire class one lab, and we will share each other's data. That's totally acceptable in this course, and labs should be a joint activity. It will really reduce your stress. Okay, then data table 2, ignore the random line, just wouldn't delete. And you'll put in your different information. Which is like how many and then what the percent. So there's 50, so you just double it to get a percent. And then you'll do the right thumb plus the left thumb, people. You'll add those percents together. I would say percent plus percent equals the total percent. But it's the different thumbs, percent plus percent equals the total percent of whatever. Makes life easier. So then you'll see when you have to answer something, it's going to have answer in bold. So this is going to say during a background examination of the literature, blah, blah, blah. So background examination, the literature means in-text citation. World Wide Web, definitely in-text citation, probably. In here, let's see, you use this background. Oh, that was up here. This is just telling you what's a credible source. When would you use a source? And be honest. Some people were like, I would never use anything but a published journal article. And then every single source I ever see from them is from like about.com, okay, which is not a credible source. So make sure you explain what the sources you use. Like if you're going to use the internet a lot, totally acceptable in this class. How do I know what source is credible though? Okay, so is it .edu, is it .com, would it be .org? What is the mathematical equivalent of the hypothesis? So you're going to do something that has like equals, greater than, less than signs in it. Math. If the subjects were not identified, or blah, 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 except they were, so you just get to do, how does it know if this is a decent sample size? Good, good, good. That did not get proved. Fixed. We're going to fix you now. Shh. It's being a snob. I tried to fix everything, but let me tell you, the format in the sucker was horrible. Why is it important not to tell people? All of this will be things you'll be reading about, bias, sample size, why do we care? We combined the percentages and we stuck them in there. You're going to put you're going to put another table or the same table. You can go ahead and put the same table. I think that's what they do. Let's see. Yeah, you can just use the same table. It's fine. Okay, and then we write a paragraph that verbally represents two things. You're going to talk about the numbers and what they mean. So you just say like, I need the number. So if you say like blah 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 percent is greater than blah 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 percent, which means blah 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 blah, just find everything. So then what was your hypothesis and is it held up? Why should the data for the same handedness to thumb and the different handedness to thumb be combined? So why would that be important? Recheck, is this valid? And the conclusion about statistics, supported by using statistics. So in this one, let me check if I want you to have specific statistics. One of them I do. Where'd it go? Yeah, it would be nice if you can say what kind of statistics might be useful. Were the results meaningful? Let's see. Were there enough subjects to be conclusive? So you talk about sample size. What experimental conditions are responsible? So what do you have to notice? What follow-up experimentation might be of use? If the obtained data results do not agree with the others, which would you believe and why? So would you believe other people before yourself or yourself? Kind of think about who would I be actually watching do everything? Who do I trust? So blah, blah. So here you get to propose a hypothesis for a hypothetical experiment that would be conducted to use it. So you can come up with any experiment you want to, and you would say, so first you give what your hypothesis is, and then you would outline your experiment. Do it in that order because that is the steps of the scientific method. Then you're going to read a scientific journal, so you're definitely going to need those citations, right? How did it address the scientific method? So I might put the various parts and say what it did. Describe the following, so what was the abstract, blah, blah, blah. Did the experiment in this article have a control. Why or why not? Why is a control always necessary? Right? So then we're going to have, what are the essential elements of the scientific method? What's a hypothesis? Can you have more than one H1? Can there be an H2? Can a hypothesis be proven? Proven. Do we prove things in statistics or science? Is it sufficient to do a single experiment to test the hypothesis? We'll probably talk about this in week 1, but is it? Does that seem right? What statistical techniques can be used to add robustness? So there you go. Stats, stats, stats. So what might you use? What might be talked about? Why is it easier to test only one substance at a time or only one action? So if you have two substances, why would that be harder? You know, there's more variables. Could they interact? Could they have weird temperatures? Could they just be so different that they don't relate? What's going on? Is it possible to test more than one outcome at a time? What revisions and testing approach would this need? Doesn't that sound like p-hacking? You just have to prepare ahead of time, right? Prepare ahead of time. Make sure if you ever do a study or a test, you figure out your statistics and everything you're going to do before you do the experiment. If you don't, it's called p-hacking, because some people do that, and they just like, oh, well, I need this many results in such and such a term for it to be statistically significant. So they just keep going until they reach the statistical significance, which sounds okay, but that's like a football team going, you know what, I'm winning, so the game is over. So you don't get to do that. You have to decide all this stuff before, or you're kind of cheating. What's the purpose of a control? Why do you need one? That should be okay. Hypothesis or conclusion or theory. So remember, a hypothesis is something really easy that's easy to test. A conclusion is like you've done a bunch of tests and you come up with this. A theory is this really, really big idea. You had a whole bunch of experiments, a whole bunch of hypotheses to come up with this big, big idea. A big idea. So it's not like one little thing lives in this one little space. It's like all these things live in this space. Really, really, really big idea. So make sure you think about that, because sometimes that can be the trickier one. And then in your lab summary, you'll talk about what you learned. Don't tell me you didn't learn anything. Don't tell me this is all a review. Tell me how this helped you. Be positive. Don't be negative. I know you can do it. You can be positive. I don't want to hear negative. And generally, keep the sarcasm out of the lab report. Some people will be like, oh, well, it's obviously this. Okay, well, the reader may not know that something's obvious, so you need to learn to practice in a very scientific tone. You present the information, you present the facts, right? You can give your opinions. In this, you can use first-person point of view, which is really nice. You say, I did this, I found this. You know, and that makes life a little easier for y'all. It's hard for me to do that after writing so much science, but that is something that is possible. So make sure you state, like, here's what was found. You know, if anything goes wrong, here's why it might go wrong. In the future, like, you might have to use some other people's lab data, even if you found 50 people for this, just because what if something goes hecka wrong and your experiment flops? You guys don't have enough information. You just use somebody else's data because you know how it all worked. You tried, it just didn't work. So you have to be prepared to explain stuff like that and be like, okay, here's what could go wrong. Even if everything goes right, here's still what could have gone wrong. So I always want an answer. If it says answer, you need to stick an answer in there. Like, I will typically take off less points if there is an answer that is wrong than if there is no answer, because I want you to have at least tried everything and come up with answers, right? Use that brain, use critical thinking. If there's ever something and you're not sure what to do, then go Google it. You know, most of the stuff is pretty readily available to Google online, and find some answers if you're not quite sure. Try to put it, you know, paraphrase it, put in your own ideas, use your in-text citations and your for references, but that's fine because you want to know what's going on. Like, figure out what's going on. Okay, I've only got like 50 more seconds. So then down here's your references. You have your in-text citations for the paper and the other sources up above. Down here you're going to have your full references, and there's lots of help on that available, so just check it out. I hope this helped walk you through the lab report, remove some of the stress, give you some ideas, even if some of it was just me reading the question going, yeah, you don't need help with that. I look forward to reviewing everything. Remember, I love a draft. It's all due on Monday. A draft review by noon on the due day. Bye.